What's up guys, War History Geek here, and welcome back to another new acquisitions video. So today we have some really great stuff, so I think you guys are really going to enjoy. But anyway, let's just get right into it. So the first item, unfortunately, I do not have in hand. I forgot it actually in my dorm room at my university, so I can't film it right now, but I have some really high definition pictures I'm going to put up here. And this is a Hungarian military sports award from the 1930s. So I believe the year is actually on there. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. But this Hungarian award I found for free, actually, at my university. Long story, but anyway, it is a really cool find. So, of course, World War II era Hungarian stuff is fairly uncommon, especially military awards leading up to the World War II period. So, because they couldn't really have any weapons due to industrial constraints and other things, a lot of the awards that they received before World War II were, well, they were sports awards, and this is one of those. So I asked a couple of people, and I heard value estimates ranging from, $50 to $100 even for this award without the ribbon, which I thought was crazy. But apparently that's on the lower end for Hungarian awards just simply because of how rare they are. So this was a really great find that I'm really happy to add to the collection, and I'm looking forward to getting on display. Now the next item, again, is something a little bit larger that I'm not able to put on screen here, but that's a Yugoslavian 7.62 ammo crate. So I have some pictures up here again, of course. And as you can see on the outside, it's in that very standard Yugoslavian green color that you see on their helmets. It's marked in 7.62, obviously, with some other Slavic script that I cannot read. And then if you look at the inside, as I flip open here, you can see that it has what looks like the lead or, aluminum crate or whatever inside the wooden crate that protects the ammunition. And this was originally 7.62 packed on SKS stripper clips. But I was able to buy just the empty crate for 20 bucks from one of my local gun stores. So pretty cool. I don't collect too much Yugoslavian stuff, but for 20 bucks to get a cool 7.62 crate, I thought this was something worth picking up. So this was something that I picked up for myself. Nothing too crazy, but something cool to stick somewhere. So now the next item that I have is something that I actually do have to show you. And these are some really interesting items that I actually got from one of my old high school history teachers. So the first item here is this booklet. And just a little bit of background information. So his uncle served in World War II, and I helped him do some research on his uncle's service. And he decided to pass these along to me for some research and maybe to see if I can find a family that connects to them or just for my collection in general. So this first item here that he handed off to me is a German booklet, as you can tell. And if you look here, there's a German stamp in the front. And what's really interesting is that this is actually not a military or party-related thing. As you can see, it's marked 1935. And if you translate it, this is actually an academic book, like a handbook workbook with information about like glass photo lenses. So this is really interesting. I've never seen anything like this before. It's from the University of Stuttgart in Berlin, like the film university or whatever. But overall, just a very interesting piece. I don't think it's worth anything monetarily speaking, but historically speaking, it's a really interesting little booklet. You can see there's some diagrams, lots of information in here. But overall, I'm just happy to add this to the collection. This is a neat little piece that you generally won't see because a lot of this stuff was just lost or thrown away over time. So I'm happy to add that to the collection. And then the second piece that he gave to me, which is even more interesting, is this little piece of paper here. And as you open it up, I'm sure many of you will recognize that this is actually a German Stalag POW identification card. So POWs, or rather soldiers that were captured by the Germans, who were POWs of the Germans, were all issued these identification cards for file keeping and all that within the German record-keeping system. And as you can see here, this one actually belonged to a Frenchman with the name Goulon, and he was born in 1914. And I did a little bit of research here already because when I was researching his uncle's story, he also sent me some pictures of this, but he decided to hand this off to me now. And what's really interesting is based off of the date of capture, this tells me that this guy was likely captured in Dunkirk during the evacuation when all of those many French troops were left behind. So this is a really, really cool piece, and especially because I have the Stalag camp that he was at, his POW number, a photograph of him, and his fingerprint, that I might be able to actually fully identify him and find a family for him. So I'm hoping I can reach out to some contacts I have in, in France, see if they can pull some records for me. But overall, this is a very, very uncommon and rare piece that not only am I happy to add to this collection and maybe do some research to see if I can find a family to pass this on to, but overall, just a really interesting piece to research. So you might be seeing another video coming on this sometime in the future, but really, really cool piece. Now, moving on to the next items here, we have a box of German items that I picked up from a person on Facebook Marketplace local to me. So we have a lot of items here. I'm just going to kind of quickly go through them. So first here, we have this, let's see here. We have this postcard. So Naxen die Tage der Rosen. This is a World War I German postcard. And as you can see here, it's fully filled out on the back. This is from July 19th of 1918. So very, very interesting and very, very neat handwriting. So I'm hoping I might be able to translate this. But overall, just a cool thing. Love these filled out postcards. Makes a great display piece and something nice to research. And if I hadn't mentioned it already, I got a very, very fair price for this box of stuff. I believe I paid around $80. And now I'm opening up another box here. So here's a little box of items. First, we have this tinny, of course. And this is a Veterans Organization tinny, the NSKOV, which unfortunately I don't know all the details off the top of my head on these tinnies. I don't really specialize in tinnies or awards, so I'm not sure on the full history. I'm sure you could find it pretty easily online. This is from the 27th of May, 1934, from some kind of a meetup that they had. But overall, I had a couple of guys look at this, and the conclusion was that this is an authentic tinny. So super happy to add this to the collection. Looking forward to getting this on display. Next here, we have this little pin from Ingolstadt, which is something post-war, I believe. Just something cool that they picked up. Here we have a stick pin here from 1940. And I know that this is from a specific organization. I can't recall which organization it was. Again, of course, I'll put it up on the screen here. But overall, very, very cool piece. Again, this one was the one I was most skeptical about because the eagle head almost looks like a pigeon head on a lot of fakes. But again, this was something that I had other collectors take a look at, and they believe that this is authentic as well. So this was a really cool find as well that I'm happy to put on display. And moving along here, kind of trying to keep the pace up, we have some more paper finds here. So here we have, let's see, Department of the Army, Alien Enlistment Program, Testing and Interviewing Team 1. So this is some kind of paperwork from the U.S. Army. I have no idea what this is from or what the meaning of this is. I'm hoping maybe to find some more research on this, but if you know anything about this, make sure to leave it down in the comments. Here we have the Ingolstadt again. This is a coaster from a bar or something, Nordbrau. So pretty cool. Here we have some German currency from the World War I and World War II period. So nothing crazy there, but, you know, cool pieces to make shelf fillers. Pretty cool items here. 5 Mark. And then we have Reichsbanknote 1000 Mark. So, again, really cool pieces. Happy to add these to the collection. I got a very fair price. The seller told me that some of these were family heirlooms because he's German on both sides of his family. And some of these are from vacations that were taken by his family to Germany. So, varying levels of authenticity in terms of World War II period and things like that. But overall, just cool finds nonetheless. So here we have a really cool silver box, and you can see there's some markings in the bottom. It says made in Sweden. I'm sure the box is worth something on its own, but I didn't pick it up for the box, of course. Here we have a silver coin from the 1972 Munich Olympics, which is very, very cool. And this I found is also authentic, so very cool find. Happy to add that to the collection. I do also have a coins and currency collection, so even though this isn't necessarily military related, this is something that's going to go right into that collection. Here we have some like souvenir pins from, it looks like a river cruise they took, and they stopped in Hamburg, and you can see they're just pins there. And then we have some other miscellaneous currency of varying eras and countries. Some are, you know, United States Civil War era. Some of them are foreign, post-World War II. So nothing too crazy there. Not going to spend too much time on that. Here's the original item that I was reaching out to him about. Here we have some German World War II era Hitler head stamps. So as you can see, complete untorn sets there. Something nice to put on a display. Of course, it already has a frame too, which is really great to get on display there. But this was the original item that was listed, and then I reached out to him, and he had all this other stuff. Next, we have this piece of the Berlin Wall. And at first, I was hesitant how authentic it was, but he assured me that it is authentic. And here you can see Berlin Wall given to RJW Sr. from Bob Sipes in 1997. So I'm fairly confident, based on how reliable this guy is and how authentic some of the other pieces were, that this is an authentic piece of the Berlin Wall. You know, I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it in the frame or if I'm going to take it out and put it in something different. But again, you can never go wrong with having a piece of the Berlin Wall. I already do have one in my collection, but I'm happy to add this to the collection as well. Now, the last couple pieces here are my favorites of this collection. And of course, I just need to give as a reminder that this YouTube channel, as well as myself, do not endorse or, you know, believe in or support or condone any of the actions of the Nazi Party or any of these other politically extreme groups. This channel only covers these artifacts related to these parties and these events for historical reasons. With that out of the way, here we have a Nazi Party pennant here. So as you can see, this is pretty common for you know, like what's just considered like a party favor. It's a one-sided, very cheaply printed, you know, flag banner that would have been hanging in a line of them. I might be able to find a picture of a chain of them. And then also at the same time is another tinny up here, as you can see, pinned to the front of it, which is pretty interesting. I'm not sure if I'm going to take it off or leave it on there. This seems like something maybe a vet would do, so I might leave it on there for that reason. If not, I'll take it off and put it in a separate display. But here you can see it's another tinny. Unfortunately, I don't know all the history of it. It is authentic, though, which is really nice. And it reads Tag der Arbeit 1935, or 1935. So, again, really cool. Tinnies are always very fascinating to me. They're a nice, cheap little collectible that you can get from the Third Reich period, so that you can kind of get that started. But happy to add those to the collection. And then lastly here, we have a German War Merit Cross. And again, I will say, like I said before, I'm not an expert in these awards. I do know that this one's authentic. Here you can see it's 1939 on the back. It has the War Merit Cross with swords, and it has the original ribbon in very, very nice shape. It almost looks like it was unissued. But overall, really great pieces in this collection. Like I said, I think I paid around $80 for all of it, so I'm sure as many of you know, that's a very, very fair price. I'm very happy to add these items to the collection and find a new place to display them. So let me get all this cleaned up, and then I will move on to the next items. So moving on to the next items here, now that I have all that stuff cleaned up. We zoom out a little bit here. You can see that I have a nice big container of letters. And this was something that I picked up on Facebook Marketplace from the Toledo area. And, you know, I can just pull one out here to show you. But this is a collection of letters that belong to a Sergeant Dewey S. Schipple, and you can see his service number there. And he served from what looks like 1945 to 1946 or 1947. I do have them now organized into this container. However, I've not had a chance to read them or do any significant research on them yet, so you might see a video on this in the future, but I figured I would include it in this video. As you can see, it's a pretty good grouping of letters there, and I only paid $20 for this whole collection, which I'm sure, as many of you know, is a very good price for a nearly complete collection of almost World War II era letters. So, very happy again to add this to the collection. Personalized items or collections of letters like this are my favorite. I love being able to put the stories together and research these people. So although a lot of the times these aren't interesting to a lot of people, I'm really, really happy to get my hands on these. Now, moving on to the next item. This, again, is an item that I can't show on screen. And it might not interest too many of you, but this is a truly like crown jewel piece for me. So as I put up the pictures here, you'll see that this is a first generation Boy Scouts of America Boy Scout uniform. So I'm going to have a separate video specifically talking about the history of this uniform, so I'm not going to go into it too much here. But for those of you that don't know, the Boy Scouts of America started in 1910, and there was a couple of split organizations until they unified later. But starting in 1910, the Boy Scouts came to the United States, and this was one of the first generation uniforms in the 19-teens, pre-World War I, that was based off of the World War I service uniform for the United States Army. So this was an absolutely one-of-a-kind, incredible find. For those of you that might know anything about collectible Boy Scout memorabilia, this is truly, like I said, a crown jewel. I was so happy to add this to my collection. This was something I found on Facebook Marketplace. It was mislabeled, and I got it for like $50, which is a steal of a price. Compared to, like, World War II German stuff, this is worth pennies. But this uniform, in terms of rarity, is incredible. I've only ever seen a couple of examples in museums, and to have this in my personal collection, I am just absolutely thrilled. So you will see another video coming on this in the future, talking about it in depth, in detail. But for right now, that's all I'm going to talk about it here. Now, moving on to the next items, we have the collection that I picked up in, this is about late January, early February. And if I hadn't mentioned, this collection of items is from January until early March of 2024. But this belongs to Andrew Andrews, so very interesting name. But here we have a collection of items, and I'll start with the uniform. So the uniform is not initially what I bought this collection for. I bought the uniform because there was a photograph that goes with it, which I'm sure you can see here now. But the uniform, as you can see here, is really, really fascinating. And again, this is another example of something I'm not going to go too into detail on because there is going to be its own video on this guy's service. But Andrew Andrews has one patch on one sleeve for the Hawaii Division, which was the Army Infantry Division assigned to Oahu, Hawaii, up until the attack on Pearl Harbor and the United States entrance into World War II. And then it was disbanded into a couple of different infantry units that went to the Pacific. But then also we have the Persian Command patch. So I can't remember if that's the exact name. If I got it wrong, I'll put it up on the screen. But absolutely amazing uniform. I didn't realize what I was getting until I started researching it more. And you can see some of the awards as well, which again, I'm not going to go into detail here because I want to talk about it later. But now that we've looked at the uniform, now you can see the photograph that I bought this collection for. So here you can see, of course, is General Eisenhower. And then next here we have General Omar Bradley, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with, which again, I won't go too much into detail on this because I want to talk about it later. And then we have Andrew Andrews over here on the far right. So you can see he's meeting Eisenhower and Omar Bradley. Not exactly sure why. I was able to roughly date this sometime between 1943 and 1945. However, I'm trying to get more research done on this as to approximately when, where, and why he would have been meeting them. But overall, this was the main version I bought, or the main reason I bought this collection. I mean, you can't go wrong with a photograph of the man that I have the uniform of meeting two generals, one of which is Eisenhower. So you're going to see another video coming on that. And then there is a couple of documents in here, but the only one that really matters for this video is Andrew A. Andrews, and this came from the family as well. You can see all it says here is he served in the European theater, sergeant on a 155mm gun, received the Good Conduct Medal. And the thing is about this website is that this information just comes from the family, so it's not too reliable. So I'm not fully relying on that for my research, but I've already got about 7 or 8 hours in, and I still don't have a lot of answers yet, so I'm hoping to possibly turn to some experts for some answers. Also, when I bought that collection, the family gifted me this 20mm dummy round, which, you know, you can't go wrong with that. I'm going to stick that somewhere for display. And then also they gave me this photograph from the other side of the family. So all of these pictures and the uniform and everything else was from the husband's side of the family. And this photograph came from the wife's side of the family. So you can see that it's the USS Cabot, and you can see, I don't remember the name off the top of my head, but there's the name here in this picture. And overall, just a really, really cool picture, and it was totally included in the price. I purchased all of this for $50, which, again, I'm sure many of you know is a total steal to have a researchable collection that belonged to somebody who met Eisenhower and Omar Bradley and was in two very, very interesting divisions, one of which was the Hawaii division that possibly places him at Pearl Harbor during the attack. So overall, amazing collection, and like I said, you will be seeing another video on this sometime in the future. I'm trying to get more research done pretty much as I record this. So now I do have one more collection of items here to end out this video. I'm sorry it's a little bit longer than usual, but you definitely will not regret seeing this collection. So let me get that for you and I'll be right back. All right, so this collection belongs to John Jaco, and this is actually a collection that I got gifted to me for free from the same man who sold me that box of items earlier that I showed in this video. So I reached out to him and I was purchasing that box of items, and I met him in person. I was talking to him a little bit about what we do here on the YouTube channel and the military museum, of course, that was also featured on the channel, and some other things that I do in my free time in relation to military history. And he decided that he was going to gift this collection to me so that I could properly appreciate it, research it, and show it to the public for future generations to learn from. So at first, I was blown away. I didn't know what to say. I made sure that he really wanted to give it to me. I asked him several times. I thanked him, of course, several times. But he was insistent that he wanted to give it to me. So without further ado, let me show you the medal collection here. So as you can see here, we have his rifle qualification badge and his carbine and submachine gun qualification badges. And, sorry, let me zoom in here so you get a better look. You can see John R. Jaco down here, his Ruptured Duck Honorable Discharge pin, and then the World War II victory, the Purple Heart, the Army Good Conduct, the European, African, Middle Eastern campaign with a campaign star and an arrowhead device, the American campaign, and the Army of Occupation. So this in itself is already a really great collection. Now, allow me to show you these. Maybe this will reveal a little bit more of what I'm getting at here. So here we have two lanyards. And here we have the orange one, which, if I remember correctly, is from Belgium. Or it could be the Netherlands. I could have them crisscrossed. And then the red and green one is either from Belgium or the Netherlands. Maybe this reveals a little bit more. Now, let me zoom out here and show you these certificates that I have of his. So here is his Purple Heart certificate given to his wife after he had passed away, given by the President of the United States for wounds received in action in Belgium, 3rd of January, 1945, under the hand of the City of Washington, the 11th of April, 1988. Here we have a certificate thanking the family for his service from Ronald Reagan. And lastly, we have this photograph of him. Now, if this still hasn't become clear, and unfortunately because of the glare you can't really see, but you can see jump boots down here. Now, what this collection is a collection of a man who served in the 325th Glider Infantry Regiment of the 82nd Airborne Division. So yes, this is an original World War II 82nd Airborne grouping. Absolutely incredible. I am so blown away by the fact that I have this in my collection. I feel so honored that he trusted me to be able to tell this story. The 325th Glider Infantry Regiment of the 82nd Airborne. And I was able to do more research on this guy. And not only was he at the invasion of Normandy on D-Day, which is what he got the arrowhead device for, he was also at Operation Market Garden, and he was also in the Battle of the Bulge, where he was injured on January 3rd, 1945. Absolutely incredible collection of items here that I'm so happy to add to the collection overall of my items. And I'm sorry, I'm sure you can tell that I'm a little out of breath here, but I'm just so honored to have this in my collection. I mean, you just can't go wrong with an 82nd Airborne grouping. I've done extensive research on him. I have his service record. I have everything you could want, and there's going to be a video talking about him specifically very, very soon. So make sure to stay tuned for that after this video. Now, there is one more item that goes with this collection, which I will get right now before we close out this video. And that is John Jaco's funeral flag. So this was the last item that went with the items that he gave me. And the case is actually not something he gave me. This is something I picked up at Hobby Lobby, actually. But the flag itself is original from his funeral in the 1980s when he passed away. And just once again, I am so honored to have this in the collection. I feel extremely, extremely ecstatic to be able to have the opportunity to research this and share him with you all, and share him with generations to come to learn about his story. So again, I apologize for the length of this video. There was a lot to cover, but if you guys enjoyed, make sure to hit the like button, and when you're in that area, hit the subscription button and notification bell. I have plenty of other videos coming in the future just like this, and make sure to stay tuned for my video talking about John Jaco. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!